This is the fourth day of the May 88 7-day retreat. For some people it is the first talk here at this retreat, and just the briefest of reminders that listening to a talk is not just listening to the words, on a verbal, intellectual level. It's not just a discourse given, but it is looking within oneself at what it is that these words are referring to, actually, in our daily, moment-to-moment, this moment living. Somebody mentioned it was interesting to hear a remark yesterday made that there is a rigor in giving a talk. To give a talk is as rigorous or arduous, if you wish, as listening. It's the same thing. And the ardor lies in going beyond that smoothly oiled, habitually used track of words and thoughts, and reaching to what the words actually refer to. It's so much easier to engage in small talk. We can go on forever without getting tired of it, although one does get tired of that too. But this is not small talk. It is not driving along tracks which are all laid out from the past. It's getting off the track and into the real thing. And that requires energy. The same energy, whether it's in speaking or in listening. The same on the track and off the trackness, whether one is talking or listening. Words we do use, but let's not just be stuck to them and to their common, habitual way of flowing and invoking superficial associations. Three main topics stand out. I don't know if we'll get to all of them. One of them is once more, because it comes up in meetings, once more, this question of a chaotic, chattering, rattling mind versus an orderly, put that in quotation marks, concentrated practice. That's the first topic we'll look at. Then we'll look at the question of pain and boredom. And then whether there is indeed a thinker that thinks the thoughts, or an intender that intends to think one way or another, or a chooser. This whole question of the I, the entity, the me. We may not get to that. It may last longer than today, but we'll see. In sitting down, particularly when one just comes into retreat, or at home in the morning for the 20 minutes one puts aside, or the evening, and then the rest of the day and night, the brain is occupied. One person said it's like a teletype machine, constantly sending out messages, internal messages, external messages, one after another, crisscrossing, often in contradiction to each other. And these messages having instant impact on the whole organism, evoking pleasure, pain, fear, anger, jealousy, tension, stress, resistance. Sitting down with this, the sooner or later reaction, this is not what I'm here for, this is not what I came for, this is not what I want to continue with. That drives me nuts. Up the wall. And then the longing for, or the grabbing onto a method, a practice. What is going on in both states? Let's look at it. And we're looking at it right now, but it's so essential that you look at it yourself. Now, if it clears up now, okay, but the teletype may be going on again the next round. So look at it, what is going on and what goes on as a reaction to it, as a way of, quote unquote, dealing with this. It's the richest of fields for inquiry and discovery. I don't mean rich of any other, just richest meaning full of stuff to be seen and looked at and discovered, and the opening of that kind of way of being and looking and doing. This chaotic brain activity means energy-wise, if one looks at what is going on with the energies, means there are infinite channels in which the energy is flowing. Infinite to the extent that there are infinite ways that we can fantasize, remember, think, project, and respond to it with our emotions, anger, and pleasure, fear. Energy flows through every new channel that opens up with a new thought, a new emotion, a new conflict. All of it channels of energy flowing into all directions. That can be verified, can't it? So often people say, I think of something that may have happened 2 or 5 years ago, somebody who did me injustice or wronged me, and if I think of that, it's the same anger bursting forth. That's energy. The energy of thinking about it, the energy of reacting to it, and then maybe a reaction to the anger. I shouldn't be angry. Another channel opened up for energy to flow, to dissipate. And then the feeling of the tension and stress of all of that, the exhaustion, the drain of this teletyping and reacting. And then, how can I deal with this? Get rid of it, be free of it, bring order into this mess. And the way one has been taught or read is to concentrate the mind on a practice, which very frequently has to do with controlling, observing the breathing, or intoning something in connection with the breathing. Either the numbers from 1 to 10, or I once read about a Tibetan practice is from 1 to 10 to 100,000. Takes enormous concentration. I'm not ridiculing the Tibetan practices. It doesn't matter. It can be the X practice. Then there is the intoning of mantras, usually coordinating them with the breathing. Om or mu or hum. Krishnamurti says Coca-Cola. You could repeat that endlessly and get the same effect with it. I'm sure the reciting of the Ave Maria with the feeling of beads, beads is not just in the Catholic ritual, many meditative practices also have the fingering of something, just to keep that concentration on something, so that the energy doesn't flow into the 10,001 channel, but remains collected on one thing. On the hum, now rather than the cacophony, we can put it that way too, the cacophony of many sounds, now it's a monotone. Just one sound. And a noticeable effect when the energy doesn't dissipate anymore, but remains collected and now goes along one channel. The effect, a felt energy, and a relief from that shattering mind that drove one up the wall. If one gets good at this, some people try for years and years and years and never get to that kind of concentration. So the mind just doesn't want to submit itself. The controlling mechanism somehow functions better in some minds, maybe depending on how we've been trained, or maybe there is some gene for the talent of concentrating, which not everybody has to the same degree. In the concentrating mode, can one look, question, what else is going on beside the concentration of energy on one thing? There is in there, isn't there? And please look, find out for yourself, discover it. In that there is desire. Or motive. Motive to get out of one thing which is intolerable toward something that is remembered or imagined, namely the quiet mind, peace, enlightenment, single-mindedness, one-pointedness. The whole thing is held together by this motive and goal, which is also the feeling of me doing something. for myself. It is a strengthening of this feeling of a separate doer or intender, actor, acting upon this mind of his or hers. It also has built into it, doesn't it, or does it? Please look at it, and if you don't agree, see it differently, well, take time together to look at it. Openly, not defensively. I'm not going to defend what I said. I won't even remember what I said exactly. I'm interested in opening up something freshly. There's a tremendous vigor and joy in that, in doing that together. So, is there built into this way of dealing with the chattering, telecasting mind also this whole system of reward, getting results, getting better at it, getting pretty good at it? A potential competitiveness with others who seem to hum a little bit more concentratedly or less distracted. One may be able to sense that a person next to one may be so much more with it, so much more concentrated. Maybe not at all, may not be so, but the mind projects that. It is connected to any time that there is a running on the track of desire, wanting to get to someplace, wanting to get results. We've been in there, on that track, ever since we were born. And there were always rewards and punishments connected with it. Competitiveness connected with it. The desire to achieve well. To compare experiences that one has had in this process. All of it strengthening and elaborating this self-image to which we're so attached. Either the self-image of being good, getting better at something, or its opposite of being no good, a hopeless case, the disappointment and frustration about not being able to concentrate and still having to put up with this chattering mind. So involve the motive, the goal, the desire, comparison, looking for results. Being somebody in this, becoming somebody. And thirdly, the conflict, the plain conflict with the chattering mind. The opposition to it, the resistance to it, battling it, dealing with it. Often in meditative practice, thought is designated as the foe, and this mind that goes out to battle it or to conquer it is the warrior mind. Struggling, fighting, opposing, resisting, overcoming, with a possible victory looming. dramatizing it in talking, but please look for yourself whether these elements aren't present in this way of practicing. Less dramatically, one may just say, well, look, it soothes the mind, it tranquilizes it, calms it down just to concentrate, maybe with a counting, on the breathing. Okay, that's what it does. If this is what one wants to do, I'm not judging it, saying it's right or wrong, then one does it. Whether it works is another question. It may work for a while and then it doesn't, but then there's the upset again, the restlessness of the agitated mind. And then having to conquer it again, having to calm it down again. Like there's no end to taking tranquilizers if nothing changes in the mind per se. And this change, we're saying, or at least wondering about, whether this can happen in any other way than but understanding this chaotic mind. Not intellectually, not theoretically according to this psychological expert or that spiritual eminence, but directly for oneself, beginning to understand what is going on, what thought is, how thought is associated with more and more thought, all from memory, and how memory is connected with memories throughout the whole body. The whole organismic complex of anger, fear. How one thought can trigger the whole thing, and then the organismic state creating more thoughts. And these thoughts again affecting the organism with new stress and tension. To see that, to witness this ongoing thing in oneself, as a representative of all human beings, because we're all constituted physiologically, electrochemically, anatomically, all constituted alike, even though there are no two individuals who are completely alike. But the general principle holds for all of us. What thought is, how thought functions, and how the whole network of thought is associated and attached to the whole network of emoting, feeling, sensing, stressing, tensing, and so forth. If that begins to clear up, become obvious, in the mode of insight, of seeing and listening, then some of these mechanisms and chaotic channelings can calm down on their own in this light of seeing and understanding. And in that there is no practice involved, no method, no technique. Since we talked about energy before, the energy of the 10,000 channels in thinking and emoting, and then the one channel of energy in concentrating. Now, what happens to the energy in attending or wondering and looking? If if one really wonders, really wants to find out, needs to see or understand what something is, we'll talk about pain in a minute, then under this question, this passionate question, the energy begins to gather. In the listening, in the looking, in the questioning, that happens. Not because I say I must concentrate now on this, but because I want to find out. Not to do this to get a result, but because there's chaos in myself. Conflict, suffering, anger. You name it. It's all in oneself. And unless that is looked at and understood clearly, how can there ever be clarity among us? How can there ever be an ending of the violence between two people? The lack of understanding, the distance, the lack of relationship between two people or all humankind. It's the same lack of understanding. So in wondering what is going on here with this brain and body, I don't know what the outcome will be of this inquiry. I'm not staking out a goal. I'm beginning to observe and delve into what is actually happening or seems to be happening. I don't even know. I have so many ideas about it, so many theories about it, so many thoughts about it, which have always told me what is going on. So this is what we said in the beginning. That's why it's so difficult to climb out of that straitjacket of knowing what's going on to finding out what's going on. It's a completely different way of being. And that takes energy, because knowing what's going on is a well-oiled track, autonomous. Several people in this retreat mentioned how autonomous the thinking, emoting is. It just runs with its own momentum. And to stop in these well-oiled tracks and wonder what is really going on, not just knowing it, that is the gathering of energy. Looking without escaping, without running away or turning the other way, because I'm afraid of what I may discover. Because it seems very scary anytime we step out of well-accustomed, familiar tracks into something we really don't know, where we understand and realize thought cannot tell us what we really are, what's really going on this moment. We have to leave that seemingly safe realm of thinking about it behind. It can't be of help. All of these things can be realized, and when they're really understood, then it's not so hard to leave it behind. And inquire and listen to fear, anxiety, without immediately looking for a way out or a way beyond. That's more thinking. Do you see that? could say, well, where does this energy come from? I don't have it. But then let's ask, where is the energy constantly going to? That we do have. It goes into thinking, imagining, fearing, desiring, conflicting, stressing. And drainage at the end of the day, or at the end of the morning, or drainage at the end of the night, because this keeps on going during the night too in our dream. So, can one watch one thought linking up with an emotion? Just watch that one thought and the connected emotion putting out more thoughts. Just watch that one train, that one happening. Then there's energy gathering. Maybe the reaction against it is caught immediately in awareness. The reaction, oh my God, not that again, I don't want that, and so on and so on. If that's caught immediately, that energy is not wasted. The energy of reaction, of judgment, of lamentation, or patting oneself on the back, how well one is doing, all of this is wasted energy. And if it's detected, seen as it happens, then it just gathers. And to the extent that energy gathers, awareness sharpens and brightens and deepens. It is as though something that is caught in awareness. There's no catcher there. It's just seen, sort of yields up its energy to the general pool of attention. But it isn't quite like that, because the energy hasn't been expended yet. It just doesn't get expended. Potentially the expenditure is already there, one is ready to go with it, but it's seen. The first angry thought is seen. And all of us have been over it, and over it and over it. It's not the first time. We know that train. It's like in a children's zoo out in Denver. I climbed with Benjamin on the children's train. It goes in a circle. It doesn't go anywhere. So one is not forsaking understanding of that circle of anger. If one feels one is not understanding this completely thought-wise, all right, let's think it through again and see what happens. Does the circle end when one comes full round, or is it just already starting on the next one, next one, next one? So, it's all right to catch it when it comes up again, right the first moment. At a glance, one see it goes nowhere except drains the energies. Maybe gives a little pleasure of the release of anger. Sometimes not pleasurable. Also, of course, in a retreat, not talking, not having to engage in all the activities of our normal day that are draining, interreacting, difficult relationships, that also leaves energy, which then very often in the beginning or at any time goes into more thought. Yeah, can one listen without any reaction? See the reactions come up and not go with them. The reaction of knowing what it is. Or when will it finish? So that it's just listening. If one doesn't want that, one wants it to stop, go on with the talk or hear more talk, then there's conflict, isn't there? Or one may say, I'm getting bored with that. The repetitiveness of it. But the repetitiveness of it is only if one remembers that this has already been going on. Whereas if one listens without that sense of time, then there is no impatience. It's just what is going on. Maybe that's a good moment to talk about pain and boredom. What to do is the question when the body is aching from sitting. There's pain in the knees or in the back, tension, and the continuous thought of when will that bell ring. And then often associated with this, the boredom of it all. Is that all that happens in coming to retreat, sitting in pain, and waiting for the bell to ring so one can get up and walk around, but then the boredom after the 5th round or so of that. When will anything exciting ever happen to me? See, right now we're smiling. It seems familiar and funny at the same time. When one is caught up in it, there's no smile about it. One is caught up in it. But again, what is this pain? What is boredom? We won't settle just for the words anymore. The words are very powerful. They have a very powerful part in the way we live, feel, react. So what is pain? In this case, in sitting here. Do I want to find out? Do we want to find out what it is? Or do we know it and therefore dislike it? The word already being a distancing from it and an abstraction of it, an escape from it. Because the word pain is not what is going on. What is it that's going on? Can one be in touch with it so completely that there's no energy left for talking about it to oneself? Which means not knowing this thing, which we don't. We know the word, we know the remembrance of pain, we know the associations with it. But we don't know what this is. This is now. It's never been here before. can one touch it completely? The language being dualistic again, there being a toucher and what one touches. But when there's no word, no remembrance or knowledge of it, no recognizing it as what one knows it to be, and that recognition has in its wake the whole baggage of past pain, when there's no knowing, which is the true fact of the situation, this, whatever is happening right now, is not known, it's going on. When that's clear, maybe the words will be understood and seen as a nuisance coming in between. I'm not saying nuisance evaluatively, but actually it's like clouding the vision, clouding the feel of it, the direct experiencing of it. And when that takes place, this thing which one has called pain changes. It isn't the same anymore. It's not a thought anymore. And because thought is mingling with this whole thing, it doesn't cause physical accompaniment, physical reaction. Because the thought, how much longer will I have to bear this pain, or I wish it was gone, I can't stand it. That thought itself causes the body to tense up, to react, to feel what we call stress, which is also pain, sensed as pain. To think this pain is good for me is also more thought. It's not good for anything. It's just there. And if I denude it of all my ideas about it, good and bad, then what is it? Again, the energy gathers in inquiring and listening, touching, looking. And that's another interesting fact. When there's energy, what was painful at a time of scattered energies, wanting it to go away, waiting for the bell, with these scattered energies, pain is very annoying. When the energies don't scatter into wishing it away or waiting for the bell, but gather, then there seems to be a different ratio. Pain that was paramount with scattered energy is trifling or just not of the same power when energies are together. The same thing changes. It's not the same thing anymore. So, what is boredom, which is felt so often when one has come to a retreat with high expectations of what this will bring, what one will get out of it, and then the tediousness of it, as we just described, pain waiting for the bell, nothing exciting happening, and then labeling the whole thing as very boring. That in itself is thought, isn't it? The well-oiled tracks of thought about something, but not diving into what's there, leaving the tracks and wondering. boring always implies, doesn't it? Not this, but something else. And in wishing for something else, no attention given to what is. The describing to oneself of something as boring is already an escape away from what is. In probing this way, in investigating, people will often mention, I don't really want to be there. I'm scared of completely being with something. One finds that out. But one doesn't have to stop there, because it's still thought. The unknown is not the unknown as long as we think about what it is. Scary or threatening, empty. We're making the unknown into something known that we're scared of. Do you see that? So what is it to be completely with this state of being right now, without knowing it? No theory about it. Nothing to hold on to that's familiar. Because that's not what is. If one comes upon resistance, the urge to run, can one gently, there has to be no violence in this, wonder what that is and keep that question open? What is it that one is resisting? Ask it and then listen and look inwardly with no theory about it. No place to go. No one to tell one when one can find out oneself. We will end here for today.